Reading from preface, page number 2. If personally I have any credit in this matter, it is only that I have tried to present Bhagavad Gita as it is, without any adulteration. Before my presentation of Bhagavad Gita, almost all the English editions of Bhagavad Gita were introduced to fulfill someone's personal ambition. But our attempt in presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is to present the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Our business is to present the will of Krishna, not that of any mundane speculator like the politician, philosopher, or scientist. For they have very little knowledge of Krishna, despite all their other knowledge. When Krishna says, Manmana bhavamadbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru, etc., we, unlike the so called scholars, do not say that Krishna and his inner spirit are different. Krishna is absolute. And there is no difference between Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's pastimes, etc. This absolute position of Krishna is difficult to understand for any person who is not a devotee of Krishna in the system of parampara, disciplic succession. Generally, the so called scholars, politicians, philosophers, and swamis without perfect knowledge of Krishna try to banish or kill Krishna when writing commentary on Bhagavad Gita. Such unauthorized commentary upon Bhagavad Gita is known as Mayavad Bhashya. Generally, the so-called politicians, philosophers, swamis without perfect knowledge of Krishna try to banish or kill Krishna when writing commentary on Bhagavad Gita. Such unauthorized commentary upon Bhagavad Gita is known as Mayavada Bhashya, and Lord Chaitanya has warned us about these unauthorized men. Lord Chaitanya clearly says that anyone who tries to understand Bhagavad Gita from Mayavadi point of view will commit a great blunder. The result of such a blunder will be that the misguided student of Bhagavad Gita will certainly be bewildered on the path of spiritual guidance and will not be able to go back to Godhead. This is very important. Our only purpose is to present the Bhagavad Gita as it is in order to guide the conditioned student to the same purpose for which Krishna descends to this planet once in a day of Brahma. For every 8600,000,000 years. This purpose is stated in Bhagavad Gita, and we have to accept it as is. Otherwise, there is no point in trying to understand Gita and its speaker, Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna first spoke Bhagavad Gita to sun god some hundreds of millions of years ago. We have to accept this fact and thus understand the historical significance of Gita without misinterpretation on the authority of Krishna. To interpret Bhagavad Gita without any reference to the will of Krishna is a great offense, greatest offense. In order to save oneself from this offense, one has to understand the Lord as a supreme personality of Godhead, as he was understood by Arjuna, Lord Krishna's first disciple. Such understanding of Bhagavad Gita is really profitable and authorized for the welfare of human society in fulfilling the mission of life. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurun Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadhamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langayate viramnat kripatamam bande Shri Guru Dinatarinam. Hare Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada is further explaining and giving us the clarity on the importance of Bhagavad Gita and also the importance of establishing Krishna as a supreme personality of God in one's consciousness and in one's life, in one's activities, in one's dealings. So actually, life is very short, but in that short time, one should do right investment. One should take right shelter. One should take right guidance. Yesterday, after the session, I was just thinking about this. Arey, how fortunate are we? We got connected to the beautiful process of Lord Chaitanya, where he personally, through him, because the Lord himself manifested as him, he came as Lord Chaitanya, Krishna as he is, and his followers, he gave this beautiful truth of pure devotional service, which is a way to know the Lord, to understand him. And then here, Srila Prabhupada, a Senapati Bhakta of of Lord Chaitanya, he is actually giving us the clarity. Before he gives the clarity of Krishna, he is actually giving the clarity of how this world is designed. Prabhupada clearly is mentioning here that the intent of writing Gita is not to give Krishna the, not to portray him, but to actually portray one's own self. That's why every author who has actually written this particular Gita was not successful, because they were all propagating in their own way. They were all propagating. They're not propagating to Mahabhava Madhvakta, Madhyajamamana school, but they are propagating to something else. That means the moment Krishna is removed, even if you do spirituality or so-called whatever it is, it's not spiritual actually. Prabhupada is clearly mentioning one should actually become a devotee. Now, how one should become a devotee? He's telling just like Arjuna became Lord Krishna's first disciple. And then we should actually perceive how Arjuna perceived this truth. That means whatever Arjuna is doing, through this we will learn how Arjuna's consciousness is improving step by step. If we understand that, then and if we actually follow in that footsteps, in those lines, then actually we will actually relish the science of Krishna consciousness. That is what Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here. So the devotee is an example for this, which is very congenial. For example, a child doesn't like to eat spicy, and mother knows. But let's say someone else is actually feeding little spicy. A child wouldn't accept it. He cannot take it. What he does, he cries. He or she, they they cry because they don't accept the spicy food. It's a very clear thing. It's not like it's not like rocket science that, oh, why the child is crying, or why the child who goes to the school is not actually studying. That means there should be some problem there. You should try to address that. It's like the moment you change the food, the prasad, and then feed him, which is not spicy, then there ends the matter. The solution is there itself. Likewise, when we think further about this, when the science of Krishna consciousness is somehow is not hitting our heart, we need to understand that something is there which we need to change in our consciousness and the mentality. That is what here Prabhupada is addressing. Because so many people they are actually writing Gita, but their writing is not bringing them satisfaction because they don't become devotees of the Lord. The moment they don't become the devotees of the Lord, we need to understand the heart is there's some problem in the heart. And the Prabhupada is mentioning about Mayavad philosophy, which is another blunder in the science of understanding the Lord, where Srila Prabhupada actually mentions about this. He says, a lot of people will say, oh, Mayavada philosophy means the followers of, Adi Shankaracharya. They, the personal way of knowing the truth. But Prabhupada also says something deeper. He goes further and then he says, whoever doesn't give importance to the person, to the Lord, to his representatives, and whoever doesn't follow their instructions as is, then he is also an impersonalist. That means he is doing his own way. Just like there is this beautiful example of Ekalavya. Ekalavya, he wanted to learn archery. He had a strong desire. He goes to Dronacharya. After going there, what happened? You heard about this? Dronacharya understood his mentality, his nature, his swabhava. His swabhava is is duplicious. Please understand. If one swabhava or the nature is duplicious, that means he says one thing, he speaks, he does something else. That means one thing he do, other thing he manifest. Please try to understand. His thought processes are different. His work is different. So he understood the nature of this person, and then he says that this science is not for you. But actually, if you see, a lot of people put Dronacharya under radar. Why? Because they think that Dronacharya asked, this finger, I don't know what finger it is called, the first finger. He asked first finger, and then a lot of people have sympathy towards Ekalavya, but they do not understand the nature of Ekalavya. Only Dronacharya could understand Ekalavya's nature. Because his nature was not right. That was a core reason. He says that I will not teach you this science, but somehow through determination, he was so fixed up. Because he was actually doing this, he was actually learning this for his own benefit. Please understand. He's not doing it for the benefit of anyone. That's not on a selfless plan. It looks selfless because it looks like he's actually, even though his spiritual master, his teacher is not there, but still he's trying to learn through determination, this, that. But still, even though he become great archer, but his nature was not right. His mentality was not right. No, because nobody can see the consciousness, only few people can see the consciousness. That's why a lot of people will get bewildered when the truth is not heard and under right direction. Because there are movies also glorifying Ekalavya. There are movies also which were taken when we were children or before our time. Why? Portraying that Ekalavya is a better person. But technically only our acharyas will tell who is a better person. Just like Bhishmadev, a lot of people they portray Bhishmadev also not a better person because he was on the side of Kauravas. Nobody understands the heart of him. So likewise, there's always this gray area. So technically, this impersonalism is also like that. It looks good, but the internal reason, the core idea, it's not good. How is it? How is it? It is looking good. How is this? The principles of impersonalism looking good. The principles of impersonalism looking good because okay, you God, I God, everyone is God. Oh, right now we are in Maya. That is why right now we are in this material nature. But the moment you liberate yourself from this material nature, you become God. Hare Krishna. So that is their understanding. They all say, it's like all rivers, they merge into the ocean. That means different rivers are like different jivas, but ocean is one. That means all the jivas, they merge into the ocean. This is the notion and the example they take. And then Srila Prabhupada very beautifully, even that example also, he clarified with much more conviction. He says that Even though the rivers merge into the ocean, after merging into the ocean, the river, the jiva, will not lose the identity, but rather the jiva would go deep into the ocean. Just like there are whales, there are sharks, they are living entities. That means they they still have that existence, even though they are in the big ocean, but still they are individual. That means they are there in the bigger picture, but internally they have their identity, they have their individual identity. They are not losing their individual identity. Whereas impersonalism, they say that the individual identity is lost. Their devotees, the jiva, never lose the individual identity. How come the desires will be lost? Don't we see the desires carrying on from one life to the other life? Likewise, the spiritual desire, when a person cultivates complete spiritual desire, then that is the moment he'll go back home, back to Godhead. Because through that spiritual desire, he'll serve. Otherwise, if he doesn't have any spiritual desire, then what he will do over there? Right? It's very practical. If a person, for example, if a person wants to go and work in a company, do you think he'll lose his identity? No. If he loses his identity, how will he work? He cannot lose the identity. So likewise, going back home, back to Godhead also, he will not lose his identity because he requires that spiritual intelligence. He should know what he is. He should understand what his position is. He should know his nature. He should know his position. He should know his identity. Everything has to be there. Once he knows all of his, then that is the time he'll go back home, back to Godhead. That means he will actually realize all of those things here only in this material world, but not in a material plane because he's in a spiritual plane. How? Slowly, slowly is reducing his material desires. But always understand this. This is where the impersonalism breaks. Because impersonalism says that you will not have any desire. Are, how come the Jiva will not have? Jiva is Satchit Ananda, eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. Sat, eternal means always. Always means it always has knowledge. It always has bliss. How is that knowledge and bliss there without after losing the identity? That means after losing the identity, also knowledge should be there. That means the identity cannot be lost. Because it is contradicting, na? If the identity is lost, then how come the knowledge and bliss is there? The jiva is merging, losing its identity, then how come the knowledge and the intelligence and the happiness, how is that? This is where it fails. So they say that they say that the knowledge is to merge, that itself is a knowledge. Correct. Then what about Ananda? They say that you just stay there, that is Ananda. This is like here, please understand this. If a child is not fed sweets, do you think that this child would know the taste in the sweet? He will not know. For example, he is not fed sweets until 2 years. Just take an example. He's never fed sweets. Do you think that has the child knows that there is sweet and then it will be sweet? He will not know until that point of time. So this impersonalism is also like that. Because through impersonalism, they don't know that there is happiness through relationships. Because they say that there is no relationships. What they do, they kill the relationships. But in the personalism, everything is in purely relation. What is this gratitude? What is this selflessness? For whom we are doing? For whom we are expressing the gratitude? It's a personalism. It's a person. He's a person. For that person, we are doing it. Let me do it for him. Let me do it for. This is a person. In imperson, there is no person. In imperson, there is only energy. Can we express gratitude to the energy? Oh, we might express gratitude to the energy on a Shanta rasa. If you actually see that impersonalism is also Shanta. But that Shanta, that is also a kind of Shanta because that is also a rasa. That is that see, without the sanction of the Lord, that will also not manifest. If the Lord did not create that Brahmajyoti, they cannot stay there. Please understand this. That means the Lord is actually just like the Lord is fulfilling the desires of the Jiva to come to this material world. Likewise, the Lord is fulfilling the desires of the Jiva to go to that Brahman plane, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. Now, so Krishna is personally telling Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kanshi. That means the persons who want to settle there, they will settle there. That a Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma also we should cross. But for that, at least first we need to come to that state by becoming selfless. Because if you see, both schools go until here with same logic and reasoning. But this school of bhakti, it will also go until the Brahmabhuta Prasannatma, and also the impersonalism school, it will also go until Brahmabhuta Prasannatma. But the only difference is the impersonalism is attaining that Brahmabhuta Prasannatma through the energy of the Lord. Please understand. They are also reading Bhagavad Gita. They also quote the slokas. But how do they quote the slokas? They are quoting the slokas by using the energy of the Lord. Please try to understand. It's very important. Because that energy of the Lord, they signify or they manifest their consciousness through that. But here the bhakti path is what? We take the shelter of spiritual master and Krishna. We take the shelter of our Acharya. This is person. We give importance to them, personalism. Through that personalism also, we come to the state of Brahmabhuta Prasannatma, na sochati na kankshati. But here, the moment we attain that state, we know from why we are doing this, why this state is coming. And then the devotee will not stop there, the devotee goes forward. Because after he establishes that, na sochati na kankshati, then afterwards, slowly, he develops a relationship. No, through that relationship only he came to that state again. That means the relationship is more and more intensified because he gets a cool head. He's pacified. And no one is disturbing him. Please understand. It's simple. Mahesha Padarajo Vishekam. Jadabarat is telling Rahugan Maharaj in Bhagavatam that Mahesha Padarajo Vishekam. What is that? He's telling you serve a pure devotee. This is personalism. In impersonalism, this is not there. Now, in impersonalism also they serve, but their service is not to that person, but their service is to that impersonal energy to attain that state. They do it. Just like a child, father is telling him, the child doesn't like to go to school. He doesn't like going to school. And then the father says, if you go this week to school, I'll give you, let's say, 10 rupees. Okay. And then the child goes to the school thinking that he'll get 10 rupees. Dear devotees, if you have children, never train your children like this. That I go here, you go there, I'll give you this. You go there, I'll give you that. This is karma kanda. Don't teach them karma kanda. Give them love. They will do it. But don't spend time with them. They will do it. But we should not do this thing. I'm just giving an example. For example, so that person is actually doing for that 10 rupees. After the week, he will get the 10 rupees. So likewise, this impersonalism school, what is that? They are also serving. But they are not serving to please that person, but they are serving to get that. Just like 10 rupees, the child is getting the 10 rupees, the person is actually aspiring for Brahmabhuta state. What is that state? That Brahman realization. They want to go and merge in that Brahman, Brahmajyoti, because they are fed up with the relationships in this world. You know who will take up the impersonalism? They are fed up with these relationships in this world. But the devotee, what he does, even though he is also fed up with relationships, even though he is also coming by fed up with the relationships, but the devotee will try to correct the relationships. Even though he is not, even though he only is satisfied, he wants to satisfy us. He wants to give that satisfaction to his family members also. Because he knows they all also belong to the Lord. Mamevamshu Jivaloke. Jivabhuta Sanatana. That conception is missing. That is what Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in this preface. Srila Prabhupada is clearly telling here, right? Never ever assume this Mayavada Bhasha because Mayavada Bhasha is fully, they say that it is selfless, so it's fully selfish. Now, devotees also they look selfish, but devotee selfish is transcendental. Now, how devotee selfish is transcendental? Now, this is a question. How is devotees also sometimes look selfish? How? I'll tell. They don't go out, they don't eat anyone's preparation. Well, it looks little selfish. They don't do this, they don't do that. They want to become devotees. It looks selfish, but it is not selfish. In the transcendental plane, there is selfishness. But that selfishness is, you know what? Why that selfishness is there? Given that selfishness is also to please Krishna, to please his representatives. That's why that selfishness is also transcendental. Because in this selfishness, there is no Krishna. That's why that selfishness will not give satisfaction to the heart. But this selfishness will give satisfaction to the heart. Why? Because, see, for example, if I am happy with something, don't I want to give that? For example, you went to a store, you purchased nice dress. It's not expensive, and then it is sustaining. Don't you tell your friend that you also go to that store and then purchase that? You will tell, obviously. Nobody has to give training for that. You will actually tell that, right? Likewise, if a sadhaka is actually relishing the science of Krishna consciousness, wherever he goes, that is what he does. Wherever he goes, that is what he sees. Yesterday, when I was at the temple, there's a cat is carrying the mouse, big mouse. I was seeing that. I was just thinking, Arey, there's a cat, there's a mouse. When the mouse is dead, the I don't know it's like very disgusting. The smell is very disgusting. Arey, the smell itself is so bad. How is that cat eating that? That is a jivana for that cat. That is a livelihood for the cat. Arey, this life is such a difficult life. How are we thinking that this life is great? How are we perceiving that this is right for me? Without the presence of the Lord, without the presence of the Acharya, how are we thinking that how can I accept this? Now the cat might be relishing the mouse, but when we see that, don't we feel that it's like, is it not disgusting? It is. Then I was thinking further, when we also relish through this world, please understand. Relishing through this world is also impersonalism. Because in the relishment through this world, we are actually relishing through the modes of material nature. These modes of material nature are the external energy of the Lord. They are like low level energy of the Lord. It is not the internal energy of the Lord. That means the moment in this also there is some happiness. Just like the cat is experiencing. You know what? If the cat is not experiencing, the cat cannot eat that. Cannot do that. If the cat is also feeling disgusting, it cannot do that. Likewise, when Brahmaji, when Lord Shiva, when this exalted personality, they are seeing from up, when they are seeing us, "Arey yaar, what is this? They're investing this human form of life, valuable human form of life. So problematic. This is a great human form of life, but they're simply wasting because they're connected to the material nature, modes of material nature, because they're completely engrossed in Rajoguna and Tamoguna. That's the problem. But when we have the association, what happens is the Rajoguna is transformed to Sattva. That is what is required. That is actually the fuel for us. That is one's life and soul. Because through sattva only one can actually understand what our acharya said. Because until that point of time we cannot understand. See here, at every moment we read, we require that person. That is why impersonalism always fails here. Why? Because there is no Krishna. But here we have Krishna, especially his representatives, our acharyas, our beloved Srila Prabhupada, and our teachers. Very beautiful because if you actually see, if this conception, here, if you see, our only purpose is to present the Bhagavad Gita as it is in order to guide the conditioned student, the same purpose to which Krishna descended to this planet once in a day of Brahma. The Lord is actually descending once in a day of Brahma, not like Lord is coming every day. It's just coming once in a day. But what is his intent? Just to take home back all of his associates. That is the only purpose why Lord comes here. And to glorify his devotees. That is the purpose. This is the only purpose why Lord comes here. It doesn't have any other purpose. There's no intention. Because for example, if something is missing in your life, don't we aspire to get that back? For example, you do not have a car. Because without car in America is difficult. Or without car in India we can manage. But in America is difficult. So the person is, for example, if you have car for 10 years, and then the next year you took a vow that you will not have a car. Is it possible to do that? It's not possible to do that. We cannot get that. Without car, we cannot survive. Because that is a need and the necessity for us. That is one's life. So if that is not there, then how can we do that? We cannot. We cannot do anything. So likewise, dear devotees, when we understand that this Krishna consciousness is everything for us, and without this, there's no existence, then we see, why the Lord is only coming once in a day of Brahma? That's a big time actually. If you see, it's a huge time. And this truth will stay for 10,000 more years. After the descent of Lord Chaitanya, it will stay for 10,000 years. That means within these 10,000 years, one should correct one's consciousness and then one should go back home, back to God. Because after that, the truth will be completely closed off. That doesn't mean that the Kali Yuga is ending at that time. No, Kali Yuga still continues after that. But what it happens? Full degradation. Complete degradation. I always think about this. If Srila Prabhupada didn't come here, he didn't write this book, or he didn't give his followers. Oh, what is the hope in this world? We would have married an American or an African, eating cow meat, doing all sorts of nonsense things in this world, using the time of mode of ignorance more and more, waking up until 2 or 3 in the morning, and slowly sleeping, having some children just out of enjoyment. Just they are the byproducts of enjoyment. Just like that. It's like you see the animals having children. The animals do not have a relation like brother, sister. They go and connect with the opposite person just like that. They do not have a relation. You would have been in that kind of a state. Just imagine, always think about this. If we do not take the process of Krishna consciousness nicely, after 200 or 300 years, if you are born in America as an American citizen, you don't have to worry. You don't have to wait for the green card or this, that, right? See, this is another thing I noticed. See, if a jiva is actually desiring for that citizenship or green card, whatever, stability in the H1, this, that. Krishna, according to that, he will ensure that he will be born in America next life or in the life after that. And then he will see that you do not have those things. Please understand. Should be careful what desires you are trying, what desires you are aspiring. Just thinking, after 200 years, if a person who practiced Krishna consciousness for some time and then is born in US in that moment, after 200, 300 years, but the society is so degraded. You know what's going to happen? We don't know what's going to happen. Just imagine becoming born, becoming, right since birth, eating cow meat, right since childhood. What is that state? Is it not disgusting state? Just like the cat example. Is it not disgusting? So disgusting. So, what is the solution and hope? Become more personal, to become more serious in the process. Very serious. This should be our life and soul. When this becomes our life and soul, then only we can cross this question of birth and death. Otherwise, Neha Vikramana Sosi Pratyavana Vidyate Salpam. Yes, you'll be protected. Salpam Apis Dharma Setraitam Bhagavat. Krishna is so merciful. Are whatever you desire, Krishna will give you that. So merciful, Father. No one, any desire, dear devotees. For example, you see an American woman. If you have some desire, Krishna will ensure that you'll get that kind of a body and then you get married to that woman sometime later. For sure, it's true. It's a fact. If one has a serious desire for that, oh, how is she? She's very beautiful. That's it. Just one desire. Krishna will ensure that that is fulfilled. Dear devotees, I'll tell one thing which happened in my life practically. I was in US. I had this small desire, but my spiritual master is constructing a dham. He's opening that. I had that desire that I should see that opening. I was supposed to be opened 4 months back. But to some shape or form that is stopping. Sometimes it is weather, sometimes it is a construction, sometimes it is something else. I had that one desire. No, I should see that. Then later on I felt, Arey Baba, I shouldn't desire like that. Because I'm stopping their service. I shouldn't desire like that. You should go. If we are there or not, the service should move. We are not important actually over there. The service now somehow on Gita Jayanti they're opening, so I'll be there somehow. So that's why since then I was always meditating on these desires. Very important because one desire, dear devotees, please understand, might be spiritual or material, both will work. Please understand. It's very, very important. If we have a clear heart, we can see how Krishna is actually playing through our life. That's why Srila Prabhupada, if you see Srila Prabhupada on the Jaladuta, what is he telling? Oh, my dear Lord, you can do whatever you want with me. Now, you said I'm Bhakti Vedanta, but you fulfill that desire. See, what is he doing? He's giving the desires to them. He's not desiring something. But he also desires something, this spiritual desire. What is this? His spiritual master told him to preach in English, but his desire was to go to West. Spiritual master did not tell him to go to West. Please understand this. Because that desire, what is that desire? That desire is also to glorify his spiritual master and the Lord again. Please understand. That kind of desire one should do. It's very important. That's why what we are seeing, never desire anything. If you see anything material, just put your head down and move forward. Anything material things are coming in the heart, in the consciousness. Oh, don't try to address them because the modes of material nature are addressing us. It's only Rajoguna. Rajoguna is only telling enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. No, 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 no. That is not for me. For example, you already ate. Your stomach is full. Something is there on the plate, some or here it for me here in India is very tapasya. Every day is a feast here. Every day is a feast, prasad. Some devotee will bring something, some sweet, some this, Mahaprasad, this, that, so many things. Every day is a feast. For me, it's very difficult, to keep that good right consciousness. So you should be very, very careful. So once your stomach is full, Baba, you should beg, should pray, my dear Lord. It's enough. One time meal, that's good. No more. So whatever is needed, we should aspire for that. And then just move on, just continue. We shouldn't do anything more in one's life. Right desire should be cultivated in right way. Just what Arjuna, dear devotees, you don't have to create new thing. Whatever Arjuna is desiring, if you are desiring that, then your life is success. That is what your Srila Prabhupada is telling. Just to desire what some here it is said, right? Such understanding of Bhagavad Gita is really profitable and authorized to the welfare of human society. How? Supreme Personality got it as he was directly understood by Arjuna. That means, however Arjuna understood the truth, if he just to follow in his footsteps, just like how Srila Prabhupada is telling us. Srila Prabhupada simply told what he said, I'm just following my spiritual master. He said, right, in the first line, if I personally have any credit in this matter, it is only that I have tried to present this Bhagavad Gita as it is without any concoctions. If you want to give any credit to me, Prabhupada is telling, I'm not changing anything. I'm giving this truth to you as is. This is what we need to take. This is what we need to do. And this is what we need to aspire. As is. That is why it is called as Bhagavad Gita as is. When we hear the truth in these lines, in this way, then the truth goes inside. Then the truth will actually work in our consciousness. We'll see changes in our heart. The desire to gratify our senses will be diminished. Always bread and fire should always, not bread, butter and fire should always have a distance. It's very, very important. We should never, we should always have that gray line. Should never cross that line. This is a consciousness which we need to develop. We are grihasthas, but still we need to develop this. One time a devotee was telling about grihastha means license. Who said license? Grihastha is not a license. So that we need to. So that we need to aspire. I'll stop here. Anyone has any questions? Continue. Otherwise, we'll stop it here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, thank you so very much for beautifully explaining Prabhupada's mood and on how he has given Prabhupada is explaining in the preface, giving us a clear understanding on how to observe in Bhagavad Gita in the shlokas through Bhakti Yoga on what his mood is in presenting Bhagavad Gita as is to what Krishna has said. Beautifully differentiated between impersonalism and personalism on getting frustrated on the relationship versus involving the dependence or relationship, basically inviting relationships and then uplifting the people around us or the relationships around us. That's a very good point, bro. Very good difference. And also you mentioned that Krishna, as Prabhupada explain. Krishna will be killed in those commentaries. They give their own experiences. But we do see in some cases few institutions they use Krishna, they explain Krishna, but they focus only on a particular point or aspects in Bhagavad Gita and then give commentary about it. So there's no still impersonalism uh, by using Krishna, the explaining about Bhagavad Gita Krishna, but then there is no Krishna again, like no relationship to Krishna or no family of Krishna, nothing. Only till Bhagavad Gita, no Bhagavatam. So I've
Because
observed that also.
Bhagavatam will fail.
Mm.
Bhagavatam will fail for impersonalism. Because the same thing, right? The material world is also doing the same thing. In material world, we are using the energy of the Lord. We don't know that it is the energy of the Lord. We just think that it is coming through our own thing, through my own intelligence, because I studied, I went to college, I graduated, I went to interview, I attended. But they don't see to the root how all these things are coming. They don't try to understand those things. They think that everything is coming through their own way of understanding. So likewise, just like in a conditioned state, even in a sadhaka who is actually practicing the process, if he is not thinking that this is all been given to me, then that is also impressionism. For example, if we begin thinking that, oh no, you see, we are just discussing, we are trying to understand. See now, we are speaking also. See now, we are eating Krishna Prasad. So now when why now we all this we are coming, then what happens is the person behind that, the motivation behind that, we miss that. The moment we miss that, it becomes impersonalism again. That means whenever, even in the process of practicing Krishna consciousness, when the person is kept aside, then it becomes impersonalism. Today in the morning also I was talking to my father on this. My father was expressing some concerns. I said, Nana, this is the problem. The problem here is when the faith is not fixed up, these deviations do come within the process. And then the faith is only established through a person. The person has to give that faith. See, an example, they should see an example, live example. This live example is really practicing Krishna consciousness, is really on a selfless man, is really inspiring us. Because through that way only one will get the faith. No, they also know, because they are also in the process. They also know that, oh, Srila Prabhupada has done so much, but they cannot apply that in their life. Because that faith transfer was not been done. Then I said, Nana, this is happening because they do not have a spiritual master in their life. No, they are initiated, they are diksha, but after that there is no training in their life. There is no shikshana. Remember our Vamshulas Prabhu last week, our dear Vamshi Prabhu, he read this bhajan. It's only three stanzas where Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj is telling how Diksha Guru is how Diksha Guru gives the Diksha and then established our relationship with the Lord and his associates. And then next two stanzas, he speaks on Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj speaks on the importance of Shiksha Guru, where he's continuously telling how one should take the association of Shiksha Guru, because through that association and his consciousness is elevated. Because actually after that devotion begins. That doesn't mean that devotion will not begin before initiation. Devotion will begin before initiation only. If the right training is established, devotion begins. But what is he trying to establish? Those two stanzas. Shikshana is very important. Through that shikshana, when we forget the person who gives that shikshana, then that is also impersonalism. Because that person cannot withstand his faith over there. Because they do it, it's like you take the milk from the mother and then you kill the mother. It's like that. Mother gave everything, and then after that you kill the mother. That's what is happening, right? Impersonalism. Impersonalism is so rampant in this world. Now, who remembers the teachers where they were trained, where they were educated? Nobody remembers the teacher. Nobody actually thinks that, oh, my seventh class teacher, she taught me like this, and I owe her. I'm indebted to her. Because neither the teacher has that relation, neither the student has that. Both ways has to be there. But the spirituality is not like that. That is why it's proper says that this is all slaughterhouses. Why? Because they don't teach that relationship. They don't teach that loving atmosphere. They don't establish that. That's why we need to do that. We need to give that love. We need to take dadati pratiginati. We need to establish that. Otherwise, because if that person is not there in our heart, then our thing also will become impersonalism. That's why we should be very careful. Why we are chanting, why we are eating, why we are reading, why we are doing, why we are serving. Everything we should have a reason. Every detail. That's what should. That's why you should see this Leelamrita. You know when this Leelamrita was been written? When Satswarup Goswami Maharaj started asking Srila Prabhupada, dear Srila Prabhupada, can you please tell about your life? And Prabhupada said, no, I will not tell. Then he said again, Swamiji, please tell about your life because the moment people will know about your life, then they will take this rasa of Krishna consciousness very nicely. Then he says, immediately I'll tell. And then if you actually see, he actually tells about his entire life, his childhood. And this is only a small book. There is like 6 volumes also. But Srila Prabhupada gave the details. That means how is he remembering? Because at every moment he's doing it with heart. His love. At every nook and corner we see personalism in his heart. When we do with trying to please a person, then we remember everything. Otherwise, we'll not remember. There is impersonalism, we will not remember. Because in impersonalism, we don't give importance to the person. I remember when our elder daughter, she was born in the time of COVID, and 1.5 year, she was in India only at that time, 2019. So I was also in India 1.5 year. I was working from India, getting the salary of US, but working from India. And that is when I started connecting to my instructing spiritual master more and more since then. So one thing I wanted to tell is one Mataji, she served Induleka very nicely when she was very little. She used to help in taking care of, taking the bath and everything. But now that Mataji is not practicing that much in Krishna consciousness after 7 8 years. I mean, whenever I see her, I always intensely pray for her well-being, so that she takes these signs of Krishna consciousness again. Because why she started doing offenses. I mean, anyone who does offenses, then they leave. Now I was praying, my dear Lord, please help, because she has done so much service. Please bring her back, so that she can practice the signs of Krishna consciousness. That means we should remember the person, small person doing a service. You know how we will remember a person when we remember the root person, Srila Prabhupada and his representatives. When we remember that, especially first, when we remember the spiritual master, then we remember everything. Then we try to address her. We might not express externally, but in the heart we will have good appreciations toward the other person. That person might also not be, he might not know that we are doing like this, but we do it. Why? Because out of love. Because they have done so much. If a person, if you're praying for a person who has done so much, Acharyas, they're doing so much, we didn't do anything to them. Spiritual master, they're doing so much to us, we didn't do anything to them. No, for them, how much we should glorify, we should keep in our heart. If we do that, Krishna will be immensely pleased. Then we will understand this science. It's very important. If we know the life of Srila Prabhupada, how much struggles he has taken, how many things he has done, then his words we will understand. That's the key. This is called as personalism. In impersonalism, this is not there. This is missing. That's what Srila Prabhupada says, do not go to the side of Mayavada Vashya. This is a kill Krishna. Because Krishna is the person, they're killing the root person only. Yata Tarunu Lamishesharena. The root person, they're killing that person only, the root. That's the problem. That means they're using the energy. That means they want hands. They want everything. Just like you know how this impersonalism. They will call their parents for their delivery of their children to America. To change the diapers in America. They'll call their parents. Both husband and wife, they go to office. And the parents will take care of the children. But if the parents are not will they call? No, no. Because you are useless, no, no. Because you are useless now. Because if you are useless, then we don't know. This is called as impersonalism. Personalism is what? Personalism is something special. We do everything for the person, for the well-being of the other person. We see impersonalism everywhere, actually. Because nobody gives importance to the person. It's very important. That's why we don't want to take that road. We don't want to kill. You want to protect that consciousness. This is what are in the root. Hare Krishna. We'll stop here. Stop. Thank you. Anyone else would like to add anything? Hare Krishna. Okay. Thank you all very much. I'll stop here. If I spoke anything wrong, please excuse me. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much. Dear Vamshira Prabhu, please take over
Hare
the call.
Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for reading the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, especially because we are on Monday is Gita Jayanti, and it is very good that you have started reading and discussing. So thankful about the class today. You mentioned about impersonalism and how they are in a totally different track, and appreciate all the wonderful points you have raised, Prabhuji. So today we will sing a bhajan to